Well, hello there and welcome back to another video. So you just bought your first mountain bike. Congratulations! This is my Marin San Quentin 1, which retails for $999 US, and I just released an in-depth review on it last week. So make sure you check out that video first and then come right back here and watch this video, because today we're talking about affordable upgrades for entry-level mountain bikes. All of the upgrades I'm going to talk about today are suitable for pretty much every mountain bike, so if you don't own this particular bike, this video can still be useful to you. All of these upgrades are going to be very obvious to an experienced rider, but if you are new to mountain biking, then this video is for you. I'm going to leave links to all the products I talk about today in the description below. Let's go ahead and get started. The first upgrade we're going to talk about is tires. A lot of entry-level mountain bikes, including this one, come with non-tubeless compatible tires, which is a total bummer. After purchasing this bike, I upgraded to tubeless compatible Kenda tires with a Regolith Pro up front and a Booster Pro out in the back. Going tubeless on this bike with some lighter weight tires saved nearly 2 pounds of rotational weight, which is huge. In my review of this bike, I said it was fairly sluggish and difficult to get up to speed. Well, with these new tires, that is no longer the case. When shopping for new tires, really assess where you live, how you ride, and how aggressive of a tire you actually need. I would say a good amount of people actually over-tire their bike, if that makes sense. Entry-level mountain bikes tend to be very heavy, so if you don't need super aggressive tires, this is one of the best places to save weight. If you just bought a bike with non-tubeless compatible tires, I would recommend just taking those off immediately and selling them in new condition. I sold the tires that originally came on this bike used for $50 and ended up getting both of these tires for $100. Therefore, it was only a $50 upgrade. While we're on the subject of tires, I highly recommend tire inserts. I'm personally fond of Rimpact because they're half the price of Cushcore, a lot lighter, way easier to install, and in my testing of both, they perform pretty similarly. I do think Cushcore is better if you are a heavier or a very aggressive rider, as it is a thicker foam and it offers a bit more protection, but again at a cost and a weight penalty. Tire inserts help protect your rim from hard impacts, allow you to run lower air pressures, and also help hold the tire shape when cornering with those lower air pressures. And with those lower air pressures, you're gonna get more grip. Here are two tires side by side, completely deflated. One has Cushcore in it, the other has no tire insert in it. Just a nice visual for you to see what they actually do. There are a ton of different tire insert options available to you now, so just do a little bit of research and find the best tire insert that suits your needs and budget. The next thing entry-level mountain bikes typically don't come with is a dropper post. In my opinion, that is a must-have feature on a modern mountain bike. Hopefully the new bike you bought has internal cable routing for a dropper post. This bike does, so that way you can buy any internally routed dropper post. If your bike doesn't have that feature, don't worry, externally routed dropper posts still exist. You can get an entry-level dropper post for around $100, but I've always used and really liked P&W Components dropper posts. Depending on which model you get, they typically range from $180 to $200 for the post itself, and then you'll need to set aside another $50 to $70 for the lever. Make sure you do some measuring to make sure you get the right seat tube diameter, the right amount of travel for your height, as well as ensuring that it'll fit in your bike's seat tube. Most hardtails, it's not an issue because it has a straight seat tube. Other than going tubeless, I think this is one of the most important upgrades you can make on your mountain bike. The next upgrade is fairly obvious, but let's go ahead and talk quickly about pedals. A lot of bikes will show up with some very cheap plastic pedals that I would absolutely not recommend for mountain biking. $50 will get you a very nice set of composite pedals, and then if you want to go up to aluminum pedals, it's probably going to cost you closer to $100. The Raceface Chester is one of the most popular composite pedals in existence, and those sell for around $50 to $55 right now. I've used Chesters in the past and I think they are great, but I will argue that I've found a better composite pedal. It's the Deity Death Trap. It does offer a larger platform than the Chester, so if you have larger feet, I would definitely recommend this pedal. It has replaceable pins, it comes in a ton of different color options, and they're also priced at $50. With new flat pedals, you should also strongly consider mountain bike specific shoes, because a pedal is only as good as the shoe you put on it. This next upgrade isn't absolutely necessary, but getting your cockpit dialed is super important for your comfort and fit. To be more specific, I'm talking about the stem, handlebars, and grips. I'm not a super picky rider, so I just rode this bike the way it came and it felt fine to me. And you may be the same way, but if something feels weird on your bike or you don't feel completely comfortable, it's definitely worth experimenting with different setups. A free way to change the way your cockpit feels is changing the headset spacers. You can put them all under your stem to raise it up a little bit, or you can put your stem at the bottom to lower it down, or you can put it somewhere in the middle. That's a free and easy way to change the fitment of your bike. If you do that and you still feel weird, maybe you're too far stretched out, you can look into getting a shorter stem, or if your bars are way too high, you can get a lower rise bars. And on the flip side, if you feel way too hunched over, you can get a higher rise bar, or if your bars are too close to you, you can get a slightly longer stem. You don't have to spend a fortune on a new bar and stem setup, but I would say buy those components from a reputable mountain bike brand. I don't think it's personally worth saving $20 on some cheap Amazon knockoff handlebars or stem, because especially in high stress, large impact scenarios, there's probably a bigger chance that those are gonna break on you. JensenUSA.com is a great place that sells mountain bike specific brands, and that's one of the first places I go to look for products. If you aren't sure about what handlebar width you like and you're going to buy some new ones, I would suggest going with 800mm bars that are able to be cut down. That way, if you don't like the super wide bar, you can cut it down in 10mm increments until it fits and feels right for you. If you buy a 740mm bar, you can't make it longer. Next thing would be the grips, and a lot of bikes come with cheap slip-on grips that are just the bare minimum. Grips aren't overly expensive, and it's a great investment to prevent hand fatigue. I personally really like the Ergon GE1 Evos, but on another bike, I'm trying out the Deity Super Cush grips. They're a lot thicker than I'm used to, very soft. They feel good. Those were about $22. A very good investment for comfort. And if your bike feels great the way it came from the shop, don't worry about doing these upgrades. You don't need to buy expensive carbon bars or $150 stem to make your bike feel that much better. The next one isn't a very exciting upgrade, but it is super important to your comfort, and that is your saddle. This is another upgrade that's really only necessary if your current seat causes you pain or discomfort. I actually don't mind the saddle that came on this bike. I guess it's a similar width to what my sit bones like, so I don't feel the need to upgrade this one, but that wasn't the story on my full suspension bike. I ended up getting the Ergon SM Pro saddle, which, yes, it's pretty expensive at $120, but to me, I consider it a one-time investment. I didn't sell the old saddle that came on the bike. I just put it in my parts bin, so if I ever sell that bike, I'll just put the old saddle back on, and then I get to keep the expensive saddle that is comfortable to me. Saddles are personal and unique to every rider, so I can't tell you what will be most comfortable for you. I would have to come measure your sit bones, and that's not a service that I offer. Sorry. The Ergon site, for example, has a saddle finder, so you can put in all your information and it'll recommend a nice saddle for you. But if you don't want to do all that research yourself, you can go to your local bike shop, and I'm sure they will guide you in the right direction. Next, we'll go ahead and talk about brakes, which is pretty important, I would say. Entry-level mountain bikes don't come with very good brakes, and one way to affordably upgrade them is better pads or rotors. This particular bike came with 180mm rotors front and rear, which is actually quite respectable. If you live somewhere where you ride super steep trails all the time, I would recommend maybe going up to a 203mm rotor on the front. A lot of the rotors that come on entry-level bikes will say resin pad only. You can just look on your rotor and see if it says that. So if you ever did want to upgrade to metallic pads, you would have to swap out the rotors. Metallic pads offer more bite, less fade, and they tend to last longer. And the last thing I'll quickly touch on is frame protection. This bike does have a rubber chainstay protector, which is a nice touch, but unfortunately it does not have any down tube protection. They do sell stick-on kits for stuff like that, but if you're cheap like me, you can just throw on an old tube or an old tire that you're not using anymore. But it's a good way to protect your investment. It will also help your resale value if you go to sell this bike later on and it looks virtually new. And there you have it. Those are some affordable upgrades for an entry level or honestly any mountain bike. You obviously don't have to do all of these upgrades at once, and you can pick and choose which ones work best for your bike and your budget. I would say the two most important upgrades on this list are going to tubeless tires and a dropper post. Everything else on this list is just a nice bonus. Upgrades like the fork, the wheels, the drivetrain, and the crankset, those are things I would just upgrade as they break. It doesn't make a ton of sense to buy an entry-level $700 hardtail, add a $1,000 fork, $1,500 carbon wheels, wireless shifting, all that stuff. If you have that kind of money to spend on upgrades, I would just suggest buying a more expensive bike to start with that comes with those nicer components. And to play devil's advocate, I would say if you are happy with your new entry-level mountain bike, just go ride the thing as is and have a good time. Learn the basics and upgrade things as you see fit as you progress as a rider. It's very easy to get sucked into the rabbit hole of upgrades because GMBN told you about the latest tech that you have to have, but the reality is just go out and ride what you have a good time doing it, and don't feel like you need every upgrade under the sun. I hope this guide was helpful if you're a new rider searching for your first affordable upgrades. Let me know down in the comments what upgrades you guys run on your bikes. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate your time, and until the next one, stay rowdy within reason.